Olive Francesca Thomas of Ford St. Andrew passed away on Monday 26 September 2022 at the age of 69. She was the mother of Wendell, Nathalie and Marvin, grandmother of Kalani, Casida, Akeem, Akima, Nathan and Everton, mother-in-law of Fabian Mitchell, sister of James, Matthew, Dean, Denise, Jean, Anne, Rita, Sarah and Omega, aunt of many other relatives and friends, including members of the Telescope Seventh-day Adventist Church, Rhonda Charles, Nurse Yomi, Cho's Health Foundation, Tonti B, Miss Wilson, Ashley, Savalin, the Thomas and Frederick families of Lafayette, the Moraine and Mitchell families of Pomerose, the Whiteman family of Content, the Augustine family of Montfan, the Wickham and Rush families, the Moraine family of Petite Esperance, the Hippolyte family of Thebaid, and friends and neighbours of Ford and surrounding areas. The funeral of the late Olive Francesca Thomas of Ford St. Andrew will take place on Tuesday, 11th October 3rd at 2 p.m. Funeral service will be held at the Seventh-day Adventist Church Paradise, St. Andrew, and interment will be at the Grand Bras Cemetery. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Ursula Scott Alexander of Glebe Street, Satez, and Laton St. David, who resided in Brooklyn, New York, died on Wednesday, September 14th, 2022, at the age of 97. She is survived by her children Francis Alexander, Junior Isaac, and Chrisley Scott in the USA, and Joseph Francis in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands. Grandchildren Christopher Hutchinson in Grenada, David Alexander, Diana Wilson, Sean, Shane, and Jamie Alexander in the USA. Great-grandchildren Isis, Ayana, Inalia, Romello, all in the USA, and Sean in Grenada. Many relatives and friends in the USA, Grenada, and Trinidad. The funeral service for the late Ursula Scott Alexander of Glebe Street, Satez, and Laton St. David, who resided in Brooklyn, New York, will take place on Wednesday, October 12th at 1 p.m. Funeral service will be held at the St. Patrick Anglican Church, and interment will be at the Marley Cemetery. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Maria Theodora Thora Monroe Campbell, also known as Betty of Beaulieu St. George, died on Friday, September 30th, 2022, at the age of 79. Left to mourn her daughter Louisa Campbell Walcott, son Lenroy Monroe, brothers and sisters Eleanor Monroe in Canada, Wavell Monroe in the USA, Reverend Sampson in Canada, Loxley Monroe in Canada, Reverend Aggie Andrews, Lee in Canada, John in the USA, Lydia Monroe in Canada, Bonanza Monroe in Canada, and James Monroe. Grandchildren Stephon Strawn, Jaden Strawn, and Austin Monroe. Nieces and nephews too numerous to mention. Daughter-in-law Amanda Monroe. Son-in-law Douglin Walcott. Former son-in-law Brent Strawn. Close relative Clarice Charles. Caretakers Jeanette Entwine and Earl Thomas. Other relatives and friends including the Monroe family, the Thomas family, the Alexander family, the James family, the Kerwin family, the Batiste, Lewis and Andrew families, the Seventh-day Adventist family circle, and the many persons to whom she was a mother and assisted. The funeral of the late Maria Theodora Thora Monroe Campbell, also known as Betty, of Beaulieu St. George, will take place on Tuesday, 11th October at 2 p.m. Funeral service will be held at the St. George's Seventh-day Adventist Church, and interment will be at the Beaulieu Family Cemetery. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Avis Elizabeth Braffett, better known as Titit, and Proboy of Laborie St. George, died on Tuesday, September 20th, 2022, at the age of 87. Left to mourn her children Cecil Braffett in South Carolina, Ian and Lisa Braffett in Grenada, grandchildren Troy Braffett in the USA, Diamond Braffett in South Carolina, Chelsea Braffett in the UK, Dion and Shelby Braffett in Grenada, daughters-in-law Shanika Braffett in South Carolina, and Nikki Braffett in Grenada, Son-in-law Wayne Charles in Grenada. Granddaughter-in-law Anne-Marie Braffett in the USA. Nieces and nephews Stephen and Berkeley Braffett, Warner Leo, Wilbert Harris, Herman, Carol, Hazel, Margaret, and Anne Perryman, all in the UK, and Tom Perryman in the USA. Other relatives and friends including the Braffett, Griffith, Dowden, and Ross families, the Williamson, Goddard, Chandela, Graves, and Searles families, the Jellineau, Patterson, Lucas, Baker, and Park families, the Morey family, Claire Purcell and family, the Francis family of Wester Hall, the Charles family, Sherry and Thomas and family, Ken Cato and family, Jean John, Pastor Leonard of the Mennonite Church, and her caregiver Margaret Phillip. The funeral of the late Avis Elizabeth Braffett, better known as Titit and Proboy of Labrie St. George, will take place on Wednesday, October 12th at 1 p.m. Funeral service will be held at the St. Paul's Roman Catholic Church, and interment will be at the Mount Airy Cemetery. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Thomas Mitchell, also known as My Lord of Crowshoe St. Andrew, passed away on Thursday, 22nd September 2022, at the age of 79. He was the brother of Lillian, Teresa, Matthias, Yvonne, Essie, Meralda, and Inez. Many nieces and nephews. Other relatives and friends including friends and neighbors of Crowshoe St. Andrew. A memorial service for the late Thomas Mitchell, also known as My Lord of Crowshoe St. Andrew, will be announced at a later date. Arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Oswald Cato, also known as Uncle Gale of Harveyvale, Carriacou, passed away on Saturday, October 1st, 2022, at the age of 96. The funeral arrangements for the late Oswald Cato, also known as Uncle Gale, of Harveyvale, Carriacou, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Peter Gordon Frederick, also known as Arthur, of Waltham St. Mark, passed away on Monday, 3rd October 2022, at the age of 69. The funeral arrangements for the late Peter Gordon Frederick, also known as Arthur, of Waltham St. Mark, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Gabrielle Gloria Crosby, also known as Gabby, of Brooklyn, New York, USA, passed away on Monday, 26th September 2022, at the age of 13. The funeral arrangements for the late Gabrielle Gloria Crosby, also known as Gabby, of Brooklyn, New York, USA, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home.
And Jeffrey, née Fortune, of La Fortune, who resided at Cedars, Maday, St. Patrick, passed away on Thursday, 29 September, at the age of 84. The funeral arrangements of the late Anne Jeffrey, née Fortune, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements have been entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home.
Lorna Maria George, also known as Natty, of Union St. Mark, who resided at Grand Row St. John, passed away on Wednesday, 21st September 2022, at the age of 59. The funeral arrangements for the late Lorna Maria George, also known as Natty, of Union St. Mark, who resided at Grand Row St. John, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home.
The management and staff of MTV extend deepest condolences to those of you whose loved ones have passed on. Thank you for watching.
I am Godwill James, an MD and a member of Gateway Assembly. Medically, death is regarded as an end or a cessation of life. Different groups view death in different perspectives. While some regard death as a continuation of life, others view it as an infeeble form of life. As a Christian, we may want to view death as a separation of the soul from the body. So, whichever way one may view death, I want to say that may the gentle soul of the faithful departed rest in the bosom of the Lord. Amen.